You were, of course, on the short list to be Vice President Harris's running mate. I want to read a little bit about what she writes about you. She writes that in your meeting, you seemed more focused on defining your role than helping her, that you even asked about artwork for the residents. And she worried that you would, quote, be unable to settle for a role as number 2. Is that an accurate account?
I mean, look, I haven't read her book. The only thing I was focused on was working my tail off to deny Donald Trump a second term.
Art. He was more interested in the art. Governor of Pennsylvania. Former Vice President Kamala Harris took some shots at members of her own party in her upcoming book, 107 Days. Just heard what she wrote about Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. She also ticked off Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom. More on them later, but first, let's tune into a different interview with Governor Shapiro. Stephen A. Smith also asked him about Harris's book. And Shapiro had a warning for the former vice president.
There's an excerpt in there where she says, quote, it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. We hear something like that. The question some folks will want me to ask you is she right? My question would be, why didn't you say that before?
Right. I haven't read the former vice president's book, and she's going to have to answer to how she was in the room and yet never said anything publicly.
Can you react to that quickly, Mark, before we get into Pete Buttigieg?
Well, I mean, 2 things. First of all, the whole thing is sort of what Democrats love to do to each other, which is just, and maybe in this case, a failed presidential campaign. It's even more to that pastime, which is just run each other down. So she has a meeting with Josh Shapiro. He seems like, pretty close to the perfect date, and I get it. He might have been asking about the art. And to be fair, don't you want to know what the art's going to be in your residence? No, but I just do think that you're beginning to. Great. I'll take her at her word that she felt he was not enough into supporting her. I think the reality of Kamala Harris is she was a flawed candidate in so many ways. Sadly for America, I am downcast as I say that because I think she had a lot of things about her that are superficial that Americans are really not ready for. I think maybe being a woman is one of them. It so sucks. I mean, this country is so effed up with that, But in any case, writing this book and kind of raking these people over the coals for likely things that they had really any difference it was around the margins. I just think it's again, it falls into kind of that category of what Democrats like to do, which is, it's the purity test. No one is quite the perfect date for me.
Yeah, and I'm going to take her at her word too. But when you look at who she's taking a little jab at, these are all perhaps they could be the leading candidates. You got Gavin Newsom, Shapiro, and now Pete Buttigieg. Harris also wrote about him in her book. Harris states that Buttigieg would have been her first choice for running mate, but here's why she didn't pick him. We were already asking a lot of America to accept a woman, a black woman married to a Jewish man. Part of me wanted to say, screw it. Let's just do it. But knowing what was at stake, it was too big of a risk. Harris believed Buttigieg, who is father to twins with his husband, Chasten, also knew that to our mutual sadness. But that is not what really happened, according to Mayor Pete. Buttigieg said Harris's concerns were not something that we ever talked about. Here's more from the former transportation secretary.
Well, I was surprised when I read that. I just believe in giving Americans more credit than that. My experience in politics has been that the way that you earn trust with voters is based mostly on what they think you're going to do for their lives, not on categories. And I wouldn't have run for president if I didn't believe that. I was right here in Indiana when this state turned blue for the first time since LBJ, and it wasn't Bill Clinton who did it. It wasn't John Kerry who did it. That happened in 2008 when Barack Obama was leading the ticket. And just again and again, my personal experience getting reelected in South Bend and a lot of other things have just shown me that you just have to go to voters with what you think you can do for them. And that's why I'm here in Indiana right now. We did this big rally on redistricting, trying to make sure that we can make the case for a politics that's about the results we can get for people and not about all these other things.
So for anyone who wanted to believe that these leading Democrats all rallied behind this soon-to-be candidate who was looking for their endorsements, well, you'd be wrong. So we're going to end with the bad blood between Harris and her fellow California politician, Gavin Newsom. In 107 days, Harris writes that after Biden dropped out of the presidential race, she frantically called other Democrats to get their endorsement. Newsom was one of them. Hiking, we'll call back, the former vice president wrote in her notes from her calls that day, which are recounted in her campaign memoir, 107 Days. She pointedly noted in parentheses, he never did. In response, Newsom stated this, look, man, and I added the look, man. There was an unknown number. Meanwhile, I was on a text chain trying to get in touch with the Biden administration because I was completely surprised that the president dropped out. That exact same moment, I was working with my team to draft a statement. Newsom said, I assume that's in the book as well. Harris did not mention Newsom's endorsement in the book. So the governor do you believe the governor with the perfect hair hikes? Maybe. I mean, it's beautiful. He was hiking, unreachable. We'll call back. But why is she doing this? Why do you think that she's doing this and singling out these three?
Well, first of all, Newsom wanted to be president himself, and he would want to fill the void if Biden were falling out. I mean, that arithmetic is easy. Secondly, on the Buttigieg stuff, I just want to quickly say, he's so good. He almost convinces me that what I know to be the case, which is that they would have filleted a gay man on the ticket. Look what they did to the trans community. They made a big thing out of it. They're still making it. They're still doing it. They're making political hay out of the trans community. It's crazy, these cultural wedge issues. But Buttigieg is so smart, so good that he almost convinces me just in that small soundbite that that's not the case, that this, when he says he has faith in the American people, I don't. I've seen the American people. I mean, I have faith in some of them, but I know that there are a whole ton of them that go on these superficial, crazy notions that they have, and they react and recoil from stuff that shouldn't bother them at all. But anyway, now to your point, the question, which is, hey, why is she doing this? Is this to clean up a reputation? Maybe. Is it to set up another political run? Maybe. What do you think, Sharon? I mean, it's an odd thing that she is taking out like the major pins in the bowling alley, in this run of hers.
If I can't have it, nobody can. Look, there's so many other things that we kind of learned afterwards, after the fact. Was Obama really? And he does seem like he's early with Gavin. They weren't for her. And I'll use Obama again. The reporting is that he didn't believe that she could pull it off. So I don't know, but I just think whatever her reasoning is, there needed to be more strategy. And I do think, and it makes me very angry, that this allegation that it was damn near weekend at Bernie's towards the last year there, and you're standing there talking about loyalty to a president. Damn it, you be loyal to me and the American people. And I know that's easier said than done. I've never run. By the way, I've never been vetted as a vice presidential candidate. So I don't know, but I just don't like the way this is smelling to me. It smells a little sour. It's past its expiration date.
Oh, the whole thing has a total cover your A feel to it. I mean, the idea somehow on the question that you raised, which is, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you do something? That's a legit question that she's still dealing with, and it's never really going to go away. And so, yeah, I think she's just trying to clean up her rep any way she can, and it's a pretty ugly business. I think the whole thing just smells bad.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.